Before we kind of go into your journey, what I found so interesting about you is that, most of your life actually before this, you're like, I'm going to be a singer and actress. There's zero plan B. Like, business was not even a thought for you. So tell me more about how you were thinking about your life. What really shifted your perspective that really pushed you into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so as you said, my entire life has been just singing and acting and dancing, and I never ever had another plan B for it. It was just my biggest passion, and I always thought, like, okay, my goal is to be a famous singer one day, and that's it. And then COVID happened, and then the entertainment industry just shut down, and the opportunity just happened where, I had nothing to do. I was I believe, out of college, either right like in the end of high school or right out of college. I don't remember, but I had nothing to do. COVID hit, and I was like, okay, like, what if I just start selling my own clothes on Depop, like making a little bit of money, and because my parents have always been entrepreneurs their entire life. I grew up with them, and I feel like they maybe knew that one day I would have, kind of followed their footsteps, but with how much passion I had for singing and acting, I never thought so. But with them, growing up with them, they kind of always made sure that me and my brother earned things. They were making money in their own businesses, right? But they're always like, okay, but if you want something, then you're gonna have to work. You want to go and like sell with the salespeople that we have with our team, go ahead and sell. Mind you, I'm like a 9-year-old kid, and I'm doing right. Like, I'm like, what do you mean, mom? Like, you want me to sell? She's like, yeah, go ahead and sell. She's like, you want that pair of shoes at the mall? Because their store was in the mall, and they're like, you want that pair of shoes? Go and sell to a customer. If you make one sale, then I'll give you money right now to go and buy the pair of shoes.
Oh
And
my
I
God, I love your mom.
actually went up to people and I was like, hi, how can I help you today? And they look at me like I'm insane because I'm 9 years old, right? So, and then of course the manager came in and helped me, and they called it as if it was my sale and I got the shoes. But
Oh,
it's just a little tiny, perspective of kind of how I was raised. But yeah, then COVID hit, and that I feel like was the moment that I got a little dip into entrepreneurship myself. So I started like Depop shops selling my own clothes, and I started Etsy shops, and then that's when TikTok became a thing. So it started blowing up, and I started filming myself wearing my own outfits and saying, hey, I'm selling these on Depop. And I started posting them on TikTok. And I started realizing that the more I post on TikTok, the more eyes on my listings, even if it's on Depop or another platform. So I started posting, and I'd actually see that I'm getting sales from people coming from these social channels. And usually it was only TikTok at the time. And that's when I kind of got a hand of how TikTok works, how these platforms work. So then when I created Soulmate Customs, it wasn't an Etsy shop. It was a full-blown Shopify store. And when you're in Shopify, it's completely up to you to do your marketing. Like, I pressed launch and I was like, yeah, we're gonna get a sale. Nothing.
yeah.
Nothing, right? Like, if you are not using, SEO, and you're doing some type of marketing, who's gonna buy from you? Right? So
100%.
yeah, that's when I realized, okay, like, the more you post, the more that you're promoting yourself, marketing is everything. It really is. You can have an incredible product. If you don't know how to market it, no one's gonna buy it. So
Gosh, it's so true. I'm going off a tangent, but it just reminds me because when I learned that, like everybody has that moment where they learn, like, oh, if there's no marketing, like you don't sell. And I can't tell you how many founders have come on the podcast who thought exactly like you, like, okay, when I launch the website, people are going to come. I mean, literally, they're like, nope, not one person. I remember when I first launched this podcast, and again, it's kind of been like a side thing as I've been growing my business. And I remember like looking at the numbers early on and telling my husband, like, dang, like I get such great feedback. I have such amazing women, but the downloads aren't going up. And he's like, you're not marketing it. Like, what do you expect? I'm like, you're so right. Cause I was just so busy on the business. But it's so true. It's like marketing is everything, no matter, what your product is. And I kind of want to go back a little bit. Remind me. So when COVID hit, were you in college at the time, or were you kind of in between debating?
So I graduated college like I believe it was mid 2020. I had like a graduation where it was a Zoom graduation, so I was one of those unlucky people, right?
Yeah, so
But
tough.
yeah, once I graduated from high school, my parents never really pushed me for college. Like I know in the U.S., my parents are Albanian, and I also lived in Albania with my brother as well for a little bit of our life. But in Albania, like there's not this big talk on like college, college. Oh, what are you gonna do? In the US, they pre-plan that. Like you're in elementary, not elementary, but like middle school,
Some
and
people, yeah.
they're already thinking of college and everything. So my parents never really pushed me on like deciding a college or like thinking much about college. I feel like it was just I always say
You just
God's
went.
plan.
You
Yes,
you still went, you graduated.
I didn't go to college. I never went to college.
Oh, okay, got it, got it. Okay, so that's what's interesting. So clearly, in the States, like you said, like everybody goes to college. It's a thing. You clearly took a different path, which I love. Did you ever feel like, when you were doing these businesses on Etsy, like early on, not all of them were quote unquote successful. Did you ever feel like, shit, I made the wrong decision? Or, ugh, I'm doing things that are so different than most of my peers? Because I'm sure many of them did go to college. No one was starting a business at 18, 19.
Mm-mm, no, like every single one of my friends are like, "Hey, I got accepted here. Hey, I got accepted there." They're starting school in the summer. Like that was, I definitely felt like an outcast at the time, but I think it's just in my personality where if I'm just pursuing something on my own, I'm so focused on that thing that I don't really mind what other people are thinking or what they're saying. This is always when I'm busy and thinking of something and I'm passionate of something. So I think it never affected me in a way that I'm like, oh, I didn't go to college. Everyone, like, are people going to judge me? Even though there's been a lot of people that have been like, there's been people that I've told my parents, like family friends, are like, what are you doing not sending your daughter to college? Like, that's crazy. And they're telling them all of these things, like, she has to have a backup, or, like the business could fail and then she has nothing to rely on. And I think my parents were the same. They're just like, whatever happens, happens. And if I ever want to go back to college, I can at any time.
I love that. I love that. And I asked that question because I feel like the older I've gotten and like the more, and I'm sure you know this in business, having your own identity and doing things differently is like the magic sauce of success in life. And you did that so early. I mean, it took me like up until I was 30 to get to the mindset of like, fuck everyone. I've been doing what everyone's telling me. I'm making money, but I'm so unhappy. Like, why am I not listening to myself? So I just want to underscore that for anyone listening, because even when you're launching your business, like you have to take bets and risks that some people might not understand, or even, finding the right friends who kind of understand the world you're in. So I think the more you can double down on who you are and not care about people's perspective of you, like the happier of a person you are and the more successful you can be. But let's talk about, Etsy. Maybe you can highlight one of the stores. I know you had quite a bit of success and that shifted. And I'd love to just kind of hear the biggest learnings you had there.
Being full on authentic, like when TikTok became a thing, I saw that there was this trend going on with like embroidery. So girls my age were purchasing embroidery machines, and I was on the whole like embroidery TikTok. So I was like, I showed my mom and I'm like, "Mom, like these girls are, look at this with like the embroidery machines." And my mom was actually the one to say, "Why don't we buy one? Like let's go ahead and buy one, Like let's just try it out." I'm like, I swear I told my mom, "Are you insane? What am I gonna do with an embroidery machine? Like I have no experience, no nothing." She's like, "No, no, Kira, I think we should buy one, you know?" And like we purchased one $300 embroidery machine, and then I was doing right Depop and Etsy, and once we got the machine, I learned how to do embroidery in like 2 days off of YouTube tutorials. And then I started like putting on like either pre-made designs or designs that like I drew in myself on my iPad, and I started selling them on Etsy. And actually one of my very first viral videos that I got a ton of sales from was Olivia Rodrigo came out with her song Driver's License. And I thought of the idea, what if I take like there's this really popular lyric of her song that says, "When I drive alone past your street," or something like that. And I took like a picture of I embroidered like a picture of a car or a taxi or something like that, and then I put the lyrics of the song under, and I posted it on TikTok. That was one of my first viral TikToks, and I got like, I don't know, somewhere around like 300 orders in like a few months or something along those lines. I don't remember. It was a really long time ago. And I thought I had made it. I was like,
Yeah.
code, this is it, right?
Yeah.
And we made a ton of sales. And that's when I realized more about like marketing and how important it is. And then very soon I was doing more designs like that with like singers and things like that. And we got copyrighted on Etsy.
I was gonna ask, yeah, I was like, wait, can you do that? I see. Okay.
Yeah, we got copyrighted on Etsy and our account on Etsy shut down fully.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
And actually, once we had Soulmate Customs, I had to send them like a very long letter apologizing and like letting them know how sorry I am. And now that I know that I can't do copyrighted things, I'm never going to do that again. And also, I have my own business now, and it would be very beneficial for us to be on Etsy because we're like full on personalization, business. So thankfully, I got a good rep, and they were like, "Yeah, you're good." So then they reopened the Etsy shop.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that's why. Yeah, I was wondering when you were saying, I'm like, wait, can you do that? Like, I'm sure that's a copyright. I was waiting.
No,
Yeah,
you
totally.
can't. It was full on copyrighted, and like probably one day Olivia Rodrigo, I might meet her, or like we might, or something like that, and I'll be like, I actually made money from your song. Yeah, but I
Oh
was
my
just,
gosh.
very, very small. I was just making videos for fun. I never thought it was gonna blow up like that, but yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the Etsy store completely was shut down. That was your kind of career at the time. You're like, okay, I was making money, you were doing well, you were getting in the rhythm, there was momentum. What were you thinking then? Like, were you like, oh shit, like I don't even know what to do next? Like, what were your next steps at the time?
It was, and you're asking such great questions that I've actually never spoke a lot of these things on any other podcast before. But when our Etsy shut down, it was something really scary at the time because it wasn't the best financial situation that we've been in, and it was very scary. And I remember I was trying everything that I could, and along with my mom as well, she was helping a lot with even like the small Depop shops, and especially when we started exploding on Etsy, she was like huge help. And I remember we were panicking. We were like in a situation where we're like, okay, what do we do now? Like this was definitely something that was helping not just me, but also I was helping my family as well at the time. It was just a bad situation we were in at the time. And we were definitely panicking. And very soon we were super fortunate that Soulmate Customs came as an idea not long after what happened with Etsy. And I feel like me and my mom always say this is super personal. Again, I've never said this before, but me and my mom always say this, that I feel like Soulmate Customs was something that was like a complete and total blessing because it was a very, very dark period in our life. So, yeah,
Gosh.
it was definitely very difficult after Etsy shut down.
God, well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I can't imagine like even the weight of supporting the family. I mean, that's like a big shift and change, and I love how there's like divine intervention of when the idea kind of came. Like I totally believe in that. Like even with I started my business with my sister-in-law, and we weren't sure how it was going to do, and there was so many just green it's still been tough, but there's a lot of green lights and momentum where we're like, this is divine intervention. Like there's something bigger than us that's guiding us. And I never really understood when people said that, but just you saying like you guys were in such a tough moment, and Soulmate Customs was kind of the light bulb, green light, positive force in such a dark time. That just gives me goosebumps to even think about it. So tell me more about how it even came about. Like what was the first idea? Like what did you create? And was it for a potential business, or was it purely just as a gift? Like I'd love to just hear all about it.
It was purely a gift. Never thought much of it. Like, as I said, my mom's birthday was coming up, and I'm like, I just genuinely could not find anything that was good enough. Like, I kept on searching on Google, right? On TikTok, on Pinterest. I was like, gift ideas for mom, and nothing was special. And mind you, like, I'm the type of person who I feel like one of my love languages is definitely gift giving. I feel like you can make people feel very appreciated and special if you actually put some thought into your gifts. Like it's that one time of year that you appreciate someone, especially for their birthdays, because they're born, right? So for me, I take birthdays very seriously
Love
because I
it.
really want to show them how much that, the closest people in my life actually mean to me. So I go full out on gifts. But with my mom, yeah, I couldn't find anything that was special enough. And out of nowhere, I just thought of the idea, like if I just take a picture of me and my mom and outline it on my iPad and then put it into like a USB and put it on the small embroidery machine that I had bought, like maybe it could turn out to something cute and cool and like personalized and just something that, my mom would cherish and can keep for years on end. And I did it. And I swear I say this in every podcast, but like I didn't think much of it because I really didn't and never thought it would become a business. And I give it to my mom and she starts tearing up and she's like, oh my gosh, this is the most
Wow.
special gift I've ever gotten in my life. And then right after she says that, she says, Keida, this is genius. Why don't we start a business out of this?
Oh my gosh.
And that's how the story of Soulmate Customs was born.
I love it. And so this was one like 2021, summer of 2021 ish.
So her birthday is in December. So it took us a couple of months to actually, like, once everything came to fruition and everything, then we launched the actual shop in July 1st of 2021.
Got it. And tell me more, like, what were you doing? You were saying, like, getting everything together for the official launch. Like, what did that look like? So, your mom's birthday happened. She gets this, piece from you that's just so sentimental. You guys are like, this is going to be an incredible idea. What were kind of the next steps to get the business ready for July?
Yeah, so at the time, we said let's start a business out of it. We didn't start it immediately. So we were, I don't know, like we were busy with at the time what we were doing. And then once we really felt ready, like, okay, now it's really the time where we can actually start a business. It happened within like probably less than 2 weeks. Once we said, okay, we're actually putting this idea to fruition, we sat down. It was me, my mom, my brother, and probably my dad in the kitchen table as well. And we were like, okay, if we're going to start something out of this, what are we going to name it? So I thought of the name Soulmate Customs. And then I created a Shopify website myself super quickly. Again, even when we were launching, never thought, like ever, that we would like be here where we are today, right? I never thought. We're just like, okay, everything that we've ever created, even my parents in entrepreneurship, I've seen them their entire lives, they've never super prepared for something. They all, like when you say scrappy, that is exactly like the definition of, first of all, my parents with everything they do in business. And second is like what I learned from them. Scrappy is definitely, I feel like, the word to describe for every entrepreneur that I feel like is successful. Like if you're going to be a perfectionist, nothing's ever going to come out of it. You're going to take way too long doing every single little thing. Like being an entrepreneur, you have to be so quick at what you do, and nothing's ever going to be perfect, and you have to be okay with that. In the beginning with Soulmate Customs, a lot of times I had that perfectionism in me because I was like, okay, if I didn't tell my friends for a while about Soulmate Customs because I'd keep creating small stuff and I'd just be like, let me keep I don't have to tell anyone I'm like I have a business or anything until we actually blew up. Then I was like, okay, let me launch this on my own social media and like show people. But yeah, as I said, scrappy is like always the thing that we've been described as.
Yes. I mean, I love that. And I want to just like highlight it. Like the fact that you created your own Shopify website, like, and you just run with it. Like, I can't tell you how critical that is. Like, there's so many people that are thinking about their idea for years, thinking about what's the perfect color, the brand, like what it looks like, or even with content. Listen, I get it. I have to push through my own perfectionism thoughts every time. Like, what does this look like? Did I say that right? Oh no, I stuttered. Oh, I got that word wrong. Like, but like you said, I love that you guys had this idea. You put the website together. You just went. And so, also talking about Scrappy, it's not like you had so much money to like put to ads and hire a team. It was just like you and your family in your apartment figuring this out. So you guys have this idea. Tell me more about, your marketing, I guess, strategy in those very early days once you launched.
Yeah, so all the marketing strategy was for an entire year was I will be posting as much as I possibly can myself on organic. Like we knew nothing about paid media. We didn't have a person that was experienced in paid media. It was quite literally just me filming videos on TikTok. Once my mom like really came in and saw that we're getting so many sales from TikTok, there goes the like business owner in her that's like, okay, Keida, we need to double down on this. So she's like, if you're posting twice a day, which I think probably was the case in the beginning. She's like, okay, now you have to like post as much as you can, like keep posting, post more, post every single day. And I remember in the beginning, I'd tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, you don't understand. Like, it's a Gen Z platform. You should not post that much. Like, you should probably post once in like, at the very most once a day. And I'd constantly be arguing with my mom. But one thing that I do have to say is mom is always right for everything. Like, mom is just always right. They're never wrong. You will never catch them in the wrong. But yeah, like I'd argue with so many things with my mom because I'd be like, oh, like it's something that also my mom didn't have experience in marketing, right? But she has that. She's way older than me, way more experience in just entrepreneurship in general. So what she saw working, she's like, double down on it and do it. And I remember, as I said, like I'd keep on telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, like you don't want to spam your followers. People will unfollow you. It's the complete opposite. It is not that. And still to this day, now I'm the person that's giving advice to so many people asking me about social media, and they tell me the same thing. You're going to spam your followers. I'm scared I don't want to post so much because you're going to spam your followers. I'm going to tell you this. Have you ever seen an account on TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, especially Instagram? Have you ever seen an account on the feed post more than 2 times at most in your feed?
Yeah.
Never. You don't get one account with every single thing they post. Like even with Soulmate Customs, I follow Soulmate Customs on my personal. I ask my friends too. I'm like, how many posts do you usually see from Soulmate Customs? They're like, oh, maybe once or twice a day. We post 7 times a day per platform, per each and every single platform. So you will never see that same account posting every single like 7 times. It's never going to be the case. So you will never spam your followers. So that's a huge one.
It's interesting because with our business, I have so many questions because I love what your mom is saying, like doubling down. Like we were doing 4 pieces of content when we launched and I like completely burned out. It was a lot. So I love that your mom is like, go even more. Like that's major props. But you're saying you do now 7 times a day. So you've increased it. So are you repurposing the content on, like, do you record on TikTok and you take that content and you put on Instagram? And how does that flywheel work?
Yeah, so I was invited to a panel for the first time actually like last month, so a couple of weeks ago, which was insane. At like a Shark Tank reunion, they wanted me to speak, which was so insane, and it was a last minute thing. But I was showing my mom because she wasn't there. I was showing my mom the videos of like me speaking, and she was like, "Wait, Keida," because everyone was so shocked that I posted so much. She's like, "Keida, you don't post 7 times a day on social media. You post 42 times a day on social media, because 7 times 6 different platforms, that's like 42 posts on average a day." And that like completely changed my perspective. I'm like, oh my God, because my goal is to get to 100 posts per day. Because I saw this one other account, it was crazy. But the more that you post is literally, it's just marketing. It's more people, more eyes on you. You will never spam your followers.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back because I have a few questions and I'm sure people listening in also have a bunch of questions about the content piece, but I want to go back to like, I guess your first order was within 4 days. Like, can you share the magnitude of how much you guys made within 4 weeks, just so people can really understand the power of like content?
Yeah, totally. I believe I was posting maybe twice a day in like when we first actually launched our website. And then around the 4th day, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there, we got our first order and we hear like the cha-ching, and I show my mom and we're freaking out. And she's like, double check that it says Soulmate Customs. I'm like, it's literally us, like it's Soulmate Customs. And then I make the order, and while I'm making the order, I'm like, let me make another video making the order and showing that it's my first ever order that I'm ever making in my small business. And I posted that, and that absolutely went viral. And I think because there was that big like emotional attachment to the video, people really felt for us how we're like a small business, you know, mother-daughter owned. And then we got like thousands of orders from just that one video. Yeah. So in the beginning, we were posting like maybe twice a day to get that one order. Now it's completely different. Now every single day that we post, you know, like a lot of our orders continue coming from organic, even though we are media buying and dealing with ads.
You're doing that now. No, I love that. I can't even imagine like what that feels like to get the cha-ching like nonstop. Like that's amazing.
It was crazy. It was such a crazy time.
Oh my goodness. So let's go pivot back to content. So you said, starting out you were doing two pieces of content. Now you've kind of upped it to seven. How are you planning that? Because clearly, you're still, people always ask me, like, how are you doing content? Like, aren't you busy running the business? Yes, yes, yes. But how are you staying disciplined? And how do you truly make seven pieces of content? Like, how do you think about that?
Great questions. I'll start with a discipline one. I think there's quite literally no other choice. If I, like, I've been in positions, and this always happens, if I'm not posting the right amount, then we just simply won't get as many sales in a day. So it's not, it's more so and I have to, because or else we're not going to hit our targets, and like we want to keep growing each and every single year, right? Or there's nothing, right? It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then with strategies, this year, what I'm like working towards that's super important to us is like we call ourselves more of a content house than we call ourselves an e-commerce business, because everything flows from content, whether it's with advertisements or if it's with organic, it's all content creation and marketing. So this year, I've been doing it myself mostly for the past 3 years, just posting like crazy. We've had some social media assistants here and there, like they've come, they've gone, but it's always been me keeping up with them. Don't even ask about being burnt out. There's been so many times that I've been burnt out to my soul. Again, I've had no other options, right? Like this is the business that's like taking care of me and my family's life. Like it's become something so huge that my entire family is involved, my brother, my mom, and my dad as well. And of course there's just simply no other choice for me. So with strategy, where I was getting is like this year I really want to focus on building an entire team, because I can't just do it myself. If we want to scale, then we have to again double down on what is working. So if I could have five more people helping me, or like five more Kaidas, right? Then that would be, we can just do so much more content and produce so much more. And also it's not just capped at how much of my creativity is, but you have other people that are also giving you creativity. So with the social media strategy, with that being said, I'm constantly changing. So the last person that we had here who was a social media assistant, we're continuously hiring. But what we were doing is like we had 2 content days, because I have so many other things to do to move the business forward, like meetings and a ton of other things. So I put down, what if we theme our days, 2 content days, and every other single day for me it's meetings. For the social media assistant, it's like putting them into the content calendars and things like that. So that was working really well for a while. And now it's just we're constantly shifting. Whatever's working or whatever's not working, we're taking it out. There's a lot of different things, but I feel like I still haven't cracked the code. I still haven't cracked the code fully. It's just I'm constantly posting, at every single day, no matter how I feel and what I'm doing and what strategy I have in mind, as long as I'm continuing to post 7 times per day, let me fail, let me do whatever, right? It doesn't matter. But I keep on having that consistency and then keep on changing strategies with whatever we need to change. If that kind of answers your
Oh
question.
no, it 100% does. And like you said, social media and the algorithms are always changing. Like I remember there was a time where we were doing so well on TikTok, like more than Instagram. And there was like, we were doing like trending audios, like back in the day when you would dance and, do certain things. I'm like, okay, I could do this. Like, again, like you said, the consistency of that. And then, it shifted. And then strangely, our Instagram really started growing. And you just are always on your toes. Okay, like, so what's the thing now? Like, is it more carousels? Like, what kind of videos? Like, are the trending audios working? So to your point, like, it's so tough to crack the code, but that doesn't still hold you back from still posting. The quantity of the posting is still impactful. And I'm curious, so that is helpful to know how you block off 2 days to kind of think through stuff. People always ask, like, how do you think about what you're going to post? Like, for example, like, are you trying to incorporate it more in your day to day? So a lot of people will like try to take, record when they're on a meeting or, like I should be doing this. I wanted to do it and I didn't have time, like recording us doing a podcast, right? Like, how are some ways you think about it? Because someone who's like, okay, 7 pieces of content is a lot. Like, how does your brain think about it? Is it like 2 about me about business or 2 trending stuff? Like, or maybe it's not even that detailed.
Yeah. I mean, again, for me, it's been mostly consistency more than quality because it's just been what works for us. If, like, right now, I'm just trying to find that balance because quality is super important, but consistency, I feel like, is even a topper notch more important, at least in my experience. But for me, if it takes more than 10 minutes
I love
to
it.
edit something, like I'm not going to do it. On to the next idea. Again, I've been doing
Mm,
it myself for the past 3 years with no help. So, in order for me to keep that up, I have to, keep on moving on to things. But a lot of things that help is like number one, what we just said, authenticity is so important. I think one of the biggest thing that have has given us success for the past 3 years in social media has been showing that back end, showing that we're doing everything in house, showing off our team members because like we're actual humans that have feelings and we're making your guys' orders, right? I think that has been a really crucial part of building a community. That's what it is. Community is so important, not just people who buy from you and then like never purchase again. So that's been great. And then on top of that, we always, every order is personalized. So a lot of people send us their stories, and we're constantly asking people to show us their stories and why they ordered things because people love watching those type of videos. So I'm always like either responding to a comment or filming a video speaking about, oh my God, this guy ordered this for his girlfriend and this is what he said in his order note. Those ones are super helpful. I see this all the time, but selling by emotion, not just selling to sell, has been insanely crucial because you can tell people like, hey, my name's Keida, right? I'm only 23 now, and I have this business with my mom, and we're selling. Go ahead and buy my product. Nobody's gonna care. People care about story, and they also care about like they care about the stories and like the emotional aspect of things. So every time when I post, I'm like, am I promoting to promote or am I actually showing a story behind something? Am I posting it with purpose? But again, this gets to the more analytical stuff. So if you're not posting 7 times a day, don't think of what I'm doing. Just post 7 times a day.
yeah,
That's
just
it.
post. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
just
love what
post.
you said, like you don't overthink it. So if it's taking you more than 10 minutes, like scrap it. Like that actually is, I think, a big unlock because you can sit there and be like, let me redo the script. Like even right now before the podcast, I'm trying to post more in stories and I literally was just getting on there to talk and I was like, okay, let me quickly redo it. And I was like, you know what? This is good enough. I don't have time. And I was like, if I overthink it, it's just not going to happen. So just, I quickly wrote something. I threw it up and I was like, wow, that was really satisfying. I'm not, overthinking. So I love that you said 10 minutes because that's how you can bust out 7 pieces. And also for anyone listening, like, so doing 7 pieces is quite a bit. Like even if you started with one every day, like that already, like that discipline is so key. And I'm sure through your process, you've learned, like you kind of learn your voice, how to be authentic by just practicing. So I'm sure it felt, yeah, maybe you can talk about like the early days of it feeling a little bit more like clunky, like just to inspire anybody listening who's like, Keida, like, I don't know, I'm not really a social person, I'm awkward. Like, what would you tell that person?
Totally. I mean, the best thing that I've learned is like you become a pro by practicing. Everything you're possibly going to do if you've never done it before, you're going to look stupid, you're going to look bad, people are going to judge you because you're just a beginner. It's always going to happen and it's bound to happen. If you want to be successful and be great at something, you're going to have to suck. Like even the best basketball players or the best movie stars or anyone who's legendary, they have to start at something and they will suck in the very beginning. So with again, like as an entrepreneur, you have to hop on so many things that you have no clue about. No clue.
Always.
Influencer marketing, never done it before. But as an entrepreneur, you have to lead your team. So you have to do it first yourself. You're gonna suck, right? You're gonna suck and then you're gonna become better at it and then you're gonna show it to one of your team members to actually do it themselves. We're both gonna suck at it right next to
Yeah.
each other until we gain experience and we keep shifting. My mom says the same thing, keep shifting 30 degrees, 30 degrees, 30 degrees until you find the perfect right degree or the perfect match of becoming great. So it's that's really important. And then another thing that I wanted to stop on since we just talked about this is like you were saying that you were posting a story right before this. The amount of times, right? I'm 23 years old. We're women, right? We're young women. Like we always want to look good on camera. We have our own insecurities, right? It happens all
Totally.
the time. every single day I battle with it where I'm like, oh, today is just not my day. I don't look good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does the business care?
Yeah, it doesn't care.
It does not.
I
It
know.
does not. So no matter how bad I feel about myself, or if I'm having a terrible day, or whatever's happening, it's that thing within you that forces yourself to stay disciplined. If you find how to stay disciplined, that will bring you success. It's consistency over everything. And I just try to remind myself, I'm like, I can look ugly right now, right? I have my crushes, like, I don't know, follow me on Instagram or whatever. There's millions of people. My videos go viral all the time. Millions of people watching me. There's gonna be people thinking that I'm ugly, or thinking
Yeah.
that, like, I don't know, right? But it's okay. They can think I'm ugly right now, but in the future, time's passing by, you're making more money, like, you're gonna, do your makeup better, or whatever that it is, right? So it doesn't really matter. I'm like, just think of, the future. Think of how great you can become. Think of how big you can build this business. Think of how many people that you're actually inspiring in what you're doing, and the gifts that you're giving that are meaning the world to people. It's so much more than that. Consistency is the hardest thing to do, but it is the most important thing you could possibly do.
Oh my gosh, you are like preaching everything that I'm so passionate about. I think like consistency is everything. Like if there's that 100%, and I sometimes remind myself like consistency across the board, right? Like showing up as a good leader, doing content, like just, I mean, literally across every aspect of the business. And when it gets tough for me, I always remind myself, and my husband always says this too. He's like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And it's
Oh
so
my
true.
gosh. I
It's so
say it
true.
all the time.
Yeah.
I say it all the time, I swear. And I have this new schedule I put to myself. I wake up at 5 a.m. because, like, 5 a.m., you can do whatever. It's that 1 hour of the day that you can just take, or 1 or 2 hours that you can just take time for yourself, because every single day it's discipline. Like, I never hang out with friends. It is so rare where I'm with friends or I'm doing something that I just want to do, that I'm like enjoying being in, like, our new house, or like doing anything that I just want to do at the time. I'm so disciplined that I feel like I'm not enjoying or taking some time to myself. But I've realized how incredibly crucial it is to actually sit back and take time for yourself. So I feel like 5 a.m., the routine has been incredible for me, because you can sit with yourself, you can read a book, you can learn, you can grow, and just think, right? You can think, and, like, or just not think at all. I'm just always with people 24/7. It's work, gym, sleep, work, gym, work again, and then sleep. Always, every single day. It's this constant cycle. But anyways, I wake up at 5 a.m., and it's that battle when you open up your eyes where you're so dead tired.
Yeah.
And I always remind myself, I'm like, Keida, this is so hard. But if it was easy, everybody would be successful. And this is for everything that I do. It's feeling hard? Good. I'm growing. Like, it should feel hard, or else everybody would be successful in what they do. This is for everything. For gym, having a great body, for entrepreneurship, having a great business, for absolutely everything that we do.
It's so true. And I'm curious because, the one thing that you had mentioned earlier, like the pressure, right? Like this has now become a family business that's supporting everyone in your family, right? I mean, it's amazing that they're involved and you guys are all growing it together. But you mentioned something earlier about that pressure. And I'm just curious because, my family's not involved in my business. My sister-in-law is my co-founder. So that's like an extent of the family, but I still feel that pressure. So I can't even imagine, like, just a pressure in terms of now team, making sure there's a business, making sure we're doing everything correctly. That's always on my mind. So I can't imagine having the pressure of making sure things are always moving when your whole family is involved. Like, how do you manage that pressure? If that's even like a question we can even talk about. Because again, I know I'm talking quite a bit because I'm still articulating my thoughts. Like, what I realize, even in entrepreneurship, there's a different kind of pressure that you feel. So I'm always thinking about, okay, how can I just have a little bit more balance or not feel that pressure? Because it could feel kind of so tough sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, with pressure, it's pressure, like with my family, it's the pressure of, like, we have an entire team of 20 plus people. Like, there's actual people that are, relying on us as a job source or income source, which is such a beautiful and fortunate thing to, like, in a position to be in, especially at such a young age. But there's a lot of pressure, right? Like, we have a lot of seasonality, huge ups and huge downs. It's that constant burnout, but just knowing that at the end of the burnout, it's okay. You're going to feel this way. You're going to cry yourself out.
Mm.
Like there's been times I had to
Yeah.
get out of the office midday because I'm like, I can't take this anymore. I cannot do it anymore. The amount of times I said it, but again, it's like going back to that thing of like, I have no choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like, I have no other choice. You just force yourself to keep on going. Pressure is always going to be there. Pressure will always be there. And like, God, I saw this one quote on someone's TikTok like a year ago that completely changed my perspective. And it said, pressure is privilege. Because without
Oh,
pressure,
yes.
you
Hmm.
don't move this far. You don't go this fast. If there's no one behind you that's constantly being like, go, 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 or if you don't have that passion inside of you, then you don't move fast and you're never going to get to that goal quick enough, or it's pressure is everything, I think.
Yeah. And it was interesting. I had a friend staying with us, and he was kind of sharing that he's at a point in his life where he realized like he doesn't want that pressure and he wants to um, live a more slower paced lifestyle. He's had pressure in other things, and that's what he decided. He was debating, do I want to start a business? So he was just kind of asking me my thoughts, and I'm like, and I was chatting a bit about who I was interviewing you and your story, and I was like, I feel this pressure, and of course there's no turning off, but I can't imagine my life in any other way. Like, so like, yes, it is all consuming and it's like our child, but the passion and the want of like is there. Like if you didn't have the pure interest of helping people, and like for you, you're creating products that are like such an emotional tie to people, and you hear their stories, like how amazing you're working with your family, you're providing jobs, like all of that is so special. So I think you need you need to figure out what is really driving you, because it will be difficult. And it's like, well, why would you want to put yourself through this? So it's just always interesting to reflect back on like, why do we do this to ourselves? But when you zoom out, you're like, oh no, I can't imagine my life in any other way. Like there's no other life. Like,
I feel like there's either like pressure from someone, which to me it's been my mom, or an extreme passion you find from inside. And in the beginning with Soulmate Customs, it was pressure, constantly pressure from my mom, arguments with my mom. I'm like, oh my God, mom, like you're crushing my soul, you're pushing me so much, which was the biggest blessing. Like she really just like changed my life and ours. There's either that or there's finding genuine purpose within you, in which this I just experienced last year for the first time after like meeting other founders that were really successful, more successful than me, incredible people that I really look up to. Like I like became friends with them, and they helped me really understand, okay, why am I doing this? Like
yeah.
what is my purpose? And once I understood what my genuine purpose is, why I wake up every single day, I swear I have never been the same. Like I didn't wake up at 5 a.m. before that, right? Our business was going great, like, but I never had that. Now I'm working 24/7. Before I was working, okay, like I would work a lot, but now it's like this nonstop drive of I don't want to do anything other than make this succeed, for so many reasons. Like the amount of people I'm going to networking events, or I'm like speaking in panels, or I'm getting Instagram DMs of like people, number one, loving our products and it means the actual world, or people being inspired by how young I am and like how much that I've achieved. And I am more than happy. If you look at my notebooks, like I've always had this gratitude notebook since I was really little. I'd put, I want to inspire people. And to me back then it was singing, inspire people with singing. But now it's inspire people with everything that we're doing, and I want to help people. I'm more than happy to, because I know if I can do it, then other people can as well. I'm simply just an average girl, just like everyone else. I just decided to not go to college and
Yeah.
pursue something else, right? So
And stayed consistent. And I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but what is that? You said you chatted with different founders and he really helped you understand your why, your purpose. And I think that's important, because I do have many friends who are 10 years ahead, massive companies who have burned out, and they're like, that is such an important thing. So if you feel comfortable sharing, do you mind sharing what that is? Is it to inspire people who are younger? Like, what is that for you that really lit that light bulb where you're just like genuinely so excited?
no, absolutely. So I'll tell you exactly who one of my friends is. He's called Aaron Spivak, and like I used to watch his podcast before I actually became friends with him, and would be so inspired. And I went to one of his events that he was hosting, and that's when he made everyone do this one exercise of asking in-depth questions to really find your purpose. And that's when I really understood. But I know that he has master classes and like different things that he does that he makes people go through that same exercise. So I would definitely like go over to him, find his social media handles, and like see, because I know he like hosts calls and different things. But it was like a series of questions of like really asking in-depth questions of like how to find really what you're working for, like why you're waking up every single day, and like why you feel this way. So yeah, I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I just remember like it literally, my mom has gone through this before. She's like, I know exactly what you're going through. It's that spark. Like it's that spark, and never let it go back down. And once you get used to that spark and you really understand like, okay, how much it's driving you, you get used to it, and it becomes your normal life. So I feel like, and I hope so, this spark never dies, because it's the most beautiful thing, like being passionate and waking up every single day and just going at it.
And is it the what's really driving you from that seminar? And I'm sure there's so much that you kind of unpacked, is like the fact that you're inspiring young women kind of running their businesses. Like what is that spark for yourself that you discovered?
It's really personal, but
Oh, okay. You don't
I
need
can
to go
say it.
into it.
I don't mind, but it's first things first, and most importantly, just like I feel like most people in this world, family is everything. And to my family, I've seen my family and my mom and dad particularly be through huge ups and huge downs. Again, like entrepreneurs their entire life, they've built amazing company with 200 plus employees, and then moving to America was a whole other story. And they've been through such tough times, and that financial instability has been with us throughout our whole entire lives. And to me, my purpose is just simply giving back to them as much as I possibly can, and kind of helping them provide, like, never going through financial instability again. That's my top and number one thing that's like really personal to me. But of course, on top of that, it's like the millions of other things that are such a blessing with having a business, like touching people with the products that you make, or having like building employment for people around the world. We have so many remote teams, and like we get on our team calls monthly, and they keep saying the same thing: thank you so much. Like our digitizer just bought a brand new car, he had a brand new baby, and like we're celebrating with him. And I'm like, I can't believe we're such a big source of like, I don't know, helping people live. Like I'm not just helping
Totally.
my parents
Yeah, yeah.
with financial stability, I'm also helping team members around the entire world, and hopefully people that are outside of Soulmate Customs that I can just simply inspire, like in this podcast, me and you, these conversations, right? So
No, totally. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I do think you need some kind of like personal reason of why. And I've been thinking a lot about it. Even, before I started the business, I've always wanted to do something with an impact. And I'm like, why have I always been motivated and driven to support women? It's funny now because you look at me, you're like, you have a women focused podcast, you have a business supporting women. Like, oh, this all makes sense. I'm like, it actually took me a lot of thought, and I fell into it because I realized like, oh, interesting. I grew up in a family. My parents were divorced. Similar to you, my dad's an entrepreneur. I've seen high highs. I've seen low lows. They did their best to kind of shield the children, but obviously, you kind of understand, but it becomes a little bit normal when you grow up in that. But the focus of both my mom and my dad, who are good friends, are like, you should always be financially on your feet. Don't ever focus on a man. Don't ever rely on someone. Like, we want to make sure, basically, like, don't live our life, like have stability, which could, not push me to entrepreneurship, because they just want you to have stability. And I realized like, oh man, like my bigger purpose, and this took me like years of figuring out, is I just want women, specifically women, to have choices and freedom and just to be badasses. And like this podcast is an element of like, how do I take people's stories and share that to give women confidence? And also from like the business side, how do I make women feel amazing in their bodies? Because that's how you show up for yourself and ultimately can create the life you want. So it's interesting. Like I forget that day to day. And even you sharing your story, I was like, oh yeah, like that is what really drives me, is like, how do I make women just feel like they can take control of their life? Because the generation before us, I mean, your mom is very entrepreneurial. My mom was as well, but like things were very different. Like things were incredibly different. So I just went on an entirely other rant, but the whole point is like, what is really that driver? Because that is what's going to push you through all those tough days and, those moments. And you need that or else you will burn out. And I have many friends who are the most successful, financially stable people who have been at a point where they're like, I have everything, but I don't have any friends. I'm not close to my family. I'm not happy. And it's like, figuring out like why you're doing what you're doing, or else it's just 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's just not, going to be worth it. But no, I love all that. And so kind of looking back at this journey. So you started the business in 2021. It's been, oh my gosh, 4 years already, which is amazing. What would you say has been maybe some of the most challenging aspects of really scaling this brand? Because it's not quite common to have that much growth, especially at your age and as a first business. So for you, maybe personally, what has been one or two things that have been a challenge or a personal growth opportunity for you?
I mean, the constant and biggest challenge in our business is like the seasonality aspect of it. Like, we're a very seasonal business because we're gifting based. But I say it all the time is like, there's so much like opportunity. Because we make gifts for anyone and everyone. So we can also target B2B. We can also, be weddings or there's so much, right? But there's so much to deal with, but of course you need enough people to be helping you. That's why this year I'm really focusing on scaling people wise, so we can also like not fix our quality, but like protect our quality as well with everything that we do.
And how has it been hiring people, as someone who, you said, I think you're now 23, like, has that been a challenge? I've heard that from other friends.
Yeah, I get this question all the
I'm
time.
sure.
And it's absolutely been such a journey. And again, as we just spoke, you're gonna suck. If you've never done it before, you're gonna suck. And I feel like just this year is like where I'm actually starting to understand, okay, like exactly how am I supposed to be a good leader to people? Like, how am I supposed to direct people? I don't want to say direct, but like collaborate with people. And like, how do I just be a good colleague to all of our team members? Because we're an entire team. I never find it here like, oh, a boss and employee. No, like if we grow the business, we're all going to grow it together. Like, okay, yeah, like me and my mom, like we own the business along with my family. But if it's just us, there's a cap to it, right? We need people to keep on growing. So yeah, with hiring in the very beginning, it was absolutely a challenge, and it's been up until now. I feel like I'm really getting to like understand how to understand people more and collaborate with people more. But in the very beginning, I say this in every podcast again, but like it was I would interview people myself until the point that they wouldn't even like, when we would call them back, they wouldn't come back. And I'm like, it's probably because they see me so young and they think that it's not going to be a stable business. So then I started interviewing with my parents until I got, like the, until I got
Yeah.
used to it. And I think confidence is a big thing, but like you only get confident until when you get good at something. So you're going to be insecure. You're gonna have bad moments. Like there's been so bad moments that I've had. Like I haven't treated people like in the correct way, that I look back at it that I'm like, why was I pressuring that person when I wasn't giving them enough directions? Like, it was my fault. I always try to find the faults in myself for everything, because if it's very easy to blame people, but like blaming a person will do nothing for your growth. So I'm very like, one thing that I've learned is like I always go back to situations and I journal about it. Journaling is like huge for me. I feel like it's like such a declutter of my mind because there's just so much in here. But journaling is everything for me. Like every time I go through a situation that I feel like I failed at something, then I journal about it. And a lot of times actually I speak with ChatGPT. Like mind blowing to me, but it is like an actual human that you speak to, but it gives you the best advice back. Like I sound super weird, but
No.
ChatGPT is my actual best friend.
So actually, I'd love to hear about that. So you're going through some challenge, whether it's like with an employee or a business challenge, you're journaling. So are you just sharing how you felt, like, hey, I messed up about this. Like, what is the prompt for ChatGPT? Like, how do you use that? I love that. I'm gonna definitely do that.
Oh, no, it's incredible. It's like life changing. But when I journal, I just, I write what happened, and then I also ask myself questions. Okay, but what could I have done better? Like what throughout the
Sure.
entire
Let's see.
process could I? But then when I ask ChatGPT, I really have a conversation. And like the key with using AI is to tell it everything that happened as if you're literally speaking to an actual human. Like you're speaking to your therapist. You tell him everything, and then you also tell it, I always tell it, okay, like I'm speaking to you because I want to get your feedback on, like, my personality. I speak to you all the time. I want to get your feedback on, like, what do you think I could have done better? Even
Mm-hmm.
when I have problems, like hiring problems, like for example, I have this constant issue personally with hiring people in social media. Like, I don't know why, but I keep on training people and they leave. Maybe it's the pressure, maybe it's the amount of how much we're posting that they just can't take that, or maybe it's something else. So I recently actually asked ChatGPT about this. I'm like, okay, chat, like I call it chat. I'm like, what can I do differently? Like, what do you think I should be doing? What are maybe like contracts or like things I could put in an interview process? It tells you everything. It tells you everything. Anytime I need an idea for something else, or again, my mom says 30 degree, 30 degree. So if I know that something went wrong with one situation, I need to think of doing something different the next time. If I'm not going to do it different the next time, I'm going to get the same result. So it's constantly shifting, and you're going to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail again until you find, right? Until you find the perfect, like that's when you find the perfect balance where you find success in whatever that you're working on.
Totally. I love that. I love how you're approaching ChatGPT. And just to kind of end on that, I have, again, like a few friends who are many years ahead of me, and you'd be surprised that they still go through their own version of this. And I remember one friend was having a very difficult conversation with someone. I think she was letting them go, which it's still difficult. That will never be easy. I'm like, wow, you've done that so many times. And, she said, I probably could have done better. I know I could have done better. But listen, even if I stumbled, I still did it. I showed up. And I'm like, that's so true. And that even goes to like, not even with letting someone go, like just anything new in business. You're starting a new product. You have to have a conversation with a vendor. Like half the time I'm like, I don't even know how to say this. And I mumble and it kind of comes out. But I'm like, Yaz, you're showing up and you're doing it. You're still moving the needle. So I love everything about that. Oh my gosh, Keida. Well, I feel like I could talk to you for hours about all these things. Like this was so much fun. I so glad we connected, so inspired by you. I can't wait to see everything that you and your family create, but this was such a blast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was such an incredible conversation. Thanks for having me.